For now, please remember the men and women that went before you that paved the way for your glory and fortune. John Cleese created some of the funniest moments in television history, but at 85, his life tells a different story. Despite making millions from Monty Python and Fawlty Towers, he's surprisingly poor. 3 brutal divorces cost him $25 million. His third wife got more money than he kept. Now he works endless tours just to survive. He calls them his Alimony Tours. The comedy legend who made us laugh for decades can't afford to retire. What really happened to his fortune? The truth will shock you. John Cleese was born on October 27, 1939 in the seaside town of Weston-super-Mare, Somerset. His childhood home at 27 Locking Road looked like any ordinary suburban house, but inside was a family shaped by strict routines and middle-class respectability. His father, Reginald Francis Cleese, had changed the family name from Cheese to Zell, decision meant to avoid the teasing that came with such an unusual surname. Reginald worked as an insurance salesman for the Prudential Assurance Company, moving from door to door, collecting small weekly premiums. The job paid the bills, but it was modest work that left the family in the lower middle class. His mother, Muriel Evelyn Cross, was a homemaker who cared deeply about appearances and social propriety. Together they created a home where financial worries were common and social respectability was everything. These early pressures shaped Cleese's sharp eye for the humor in class rules and the absurd routines of everyday British life. By the time he turned 12, Cleese was already 6 feet tall. His unusual height made him stand out in every setting. At St. Peter's Preparatory School, his classmates called him skyscraper and beanpole, and teachers often drew attention to him simply because he towered over the rest. Even practical things became difficult. His uniforms had to be specially ordered. He could not fit comfortably at the standard desks, and in school photographs he stood out like an adult, misplaced among children. Instead of feeling proud, he grew self-conscious, trying to shrink himself by slouching. The constant teasing left scars, but it also planted the seeds of the physical humor that would later make him famous, especially in his exaggerated walks and movements on stage and screen. The bullying he faced pushed him to develop a sharp wit. First, it was only a way to survive. A well-timed remark or a clever joke could turn the moment around and even make his tormentors laugh. He practiced lines and expressions in front of his bedroom mirror until he could deliver them with perfect timing. His mother worried that his quick tongue might get him into trouble, but his father quietly saw it as a tool for survival. Over time, Cleese became skilled at reading people's moods and knowing exactly when a joke could soften a situation. What had started as a defense became his greatest strength. In 1953, Cleese transferred to Clifton College in Bristol, a prestigious school where he hid his insecurities behind a mask of achievement. He excelled in Latin, Greek, and English literature and became a strong cricket bowler, finally finding one place where his height gave him an advantage. He was chosen as head of his house and became a member of the elite 20 club reserved for the school's best students. To everyone else, he looked like the model pupil, smart, confident, and talented. In reality, he felt like an outsider, afraid that his family's modest background would set him apart from his wealthier classmates. He studied late into the night, memorizing texts to make sure he never appeared unprepared. His teachers praised his maturity and leadership, not realizing that his wit and confidence were carefully built defenses forged from years of struggle. In 1958, Cleese earned a place at Downing College, Cambridge, to study law, though Pembroke College had been his first choice because so many students who had postponed their studies for national service were entering at the same time. He had to wait 2 years before starting. During that time he returned to his old preparatory school as a teacher. When he finally arrived at Cambridge, he set his sights on the famous Footlights Theatrical Club. First he was rejected, but he persisted. Teaming up with fellow student Alan Hutcherson, he wrote material for the 1961 revue show, and by 1962 he had become registrar of the club. What began as an attempt to pursue law soon revealed his true path. It was there that he met Graham Chapman, a partnership that would change comedy history. Their writing process was unusual. Cleese would do most of the work while Chapman stayed quiet for long stretches before suddenly offering an idea that often transformed the sketch. One of the most famous examples was the Dead Parrot sketch. Lee originally wrote it about a broken toaster, but Chapman suggested replacing it with a dead Norwegian blue parrot, turning it into one of Monty Python's most memorable pieces. In 1963, Cleese and the Footlights troupe staged a clump of plinths at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The show was a success, and later moved to London's West End on July 10th of that year. It was retitled Cambridge Circus, a name that confused some audiences who thought it referred to the actual location. The cast included future stars Tim Brooke, Taylor, David Hatch, Bill Audi, Chris Stuart Clark, Joe Kendall, and Graham Chapman. The show toured New Zealand in the summer of 1964, where they recorded a television special and 4 radio programs later broadcast that November and December. Soon after, the troupe performed on Broadway in September and then moved off Broadway. Their biggest exposure came when they appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show in October 1964, performing for a huge American audience. An album of their sketches and songs, produced by George Martin, had already been released by Parlophone in 1963, adding to their success. Cleese later admitted in his autobiography that during the Cambridge Circus tour in New Zealand in 1964, at the age of 24, he lost his virginity. He described it as a surprising and almost accidental